the new courses coming down that you have any interest in knowing about or have a question about? If not, I'll just continue on. All right, well, that's good news then. Full hour. So what this is about, using perceptions to manage risk. So some introductory general slides I'll put up here first, if I can. It was working a minute ago. Can you get it? Can you move it up one?
Let's see.
We had to reboot and then it went. Is it in presentation mode?
Should be in presentation mode. Here we go.
There, okay.
See if that.
Nope, I still don't have
I
control.
think it's the extender.
Is it the extender that's having trouble?
It worked a minute ago.
Where's
The tip of the mouse.
Technical difficulty, be
Where's
just
it
a
plugged
brief
in?
moment. If not, we can ever move the slides.
You just plug it in.
It suddenly stopped responding to me for something when I was trying to set it up to push it through to Teams. So I don't know whether it doesn't like operating in conjunction with Teams or whether it's just being a pain.
I have to have total control.
I understand.
I think I shouldn't say that.
Can I see it?
Oh, sure. I'll bet I didn't turn it on. Let me hear. It's
No,
a new one.
It's on.
No, there's a little on-off button on the side.
Yeah, it's on. I can see
Oh.
it.
I got to I'd say one more time.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to have a sense of humor about
That is
something.
exactly.
We can take out the 2A one.
This is it,
But
correct?
that's it. That is it.
I'll back up some slides. That's the later slide.
Yep.
Ford's fault. Where's Ford?
Oh, it's back
Back
behavior.
again? Okay. All right, so some introductory stuff. Here's an image again. The question is, what do you see? Yes, about perception. One of the key points here is, do we see with our eyes or with our brain? And one of the answers to that is we see with our brain, through our eyes. So you should see two different things there. Here it is a woman or a young girl. And you can see the difference there. The old woman's nose is the young girl's chin, so the young lady's looking away, back to the left. And the older lady's looking down to the left. Everybody see it? All right, well, we got a couple more what we're doing there. So here's the main point. This is, again, the MSF approach and trying to get this idea out there. We want riders to respond to traffic situations, not react to emergency. And that mostly boils down to perception. So perception is the same, but do we want to respond well ahead of time, or more time and space, or we want to react? That's where the crash is happening. So we get people to think ahead. So to do that, we have to create that awareness about, okay, how do the eyes line work? A lot of people don't know. Some quotes from literature. I've got 5 or 6 of these. I'm going to read that. Because it's not just about skill. You can give people more skill, but it's all about their risk offset, or risk compensation, as it's called by its original author. Another quote. Invisible Gorilla, about 10 years old now. And all of you seen that video where you count the number of times the team wearing white vests in basketball? That's where this came from. The people that did that also wrote this book. It's really good. It's about half the people never see that thing you should be able to see. It's right in front of you. Not similar to the old lady, young lady. Another point, traffic, another book I would recommend if you're really deep into traffic safety. It's well researched. It's researched from around the world. It's an easy read. It's a very thick book. Creating awareness. That's step one to making a difference. If you want to change your behavior or change in stats, that's why, you go data-driven, but you got to have a good baseline. But people aren't even aware they're not aware. Like people texting, and they think they're switching back and forth in their brain, multitasking, so to speak, but it does distract from the ability to pick something up quick, especially if it's a surprise. Another quote from Invisible Gorilla. Something's not guaranteed to see it. So we can say, pay attention all you want. To what? just scan, scan far here, decide, okay, well, what am I looking for? So there's going to be more of the story, that's what this session is about. And the last one from the invisible gorilla. We don't know what's happening. We have to convince ourselves, yes, indeed, it is affecting you. And if you stop and think about it while you're driving and thinking about something else or having a meal or listen to the radio or whatever, just think about, or have a phone conversation, just think about how it's distracting. And when you actually experience it, oh yeah, that's right, I can't, I'm not, you think it's automatic. In fact, that's the goal we've got, is to get drivers to be automatic about their safety margins. They don't have to think about it. They just do it because they've been trained themselves in a lot of ways to do what's right and to read traffic well. And if you're really a safety advocate, that's kind of what you do when you, let's say, ride from point A to point B. How many have seen race rides? I'm just curious. One, okay. Maybe colleague. Yeah, it's on our website. It's a series of 12 videos.
Ride along.
Again, it's boring because it's safety, but you ride along with me and I'm talking in real time about what I'm thinking about when I ride from point A to point B as a safety professional. So I just verbalize what I'm doing, when I'm thinking about time and space, the environment factors, the circumstances. When there's a lull, I might get into something that, about our training curriculum or something like that. They're about 8 to 10 minutes each, something like that. They're on our main website. Yes.
Ask one question.
Sure.
Does verbalizing those things seem to help you, or do you think there are individuals out there that verbalize what-if situations while they're riding, helps them to focus?
Well, I think it helps you because then you're forced to think about what you're going to say, which makes you in the moment. It's even better when you have codes. It's called commentary driving or commentary riding. I used to use that years ago in traffic safety education program where you had an instructor and you would verbalize what you're thinking about when you're behind the wheel. And they would find out what you're thinking about, where you're looking, whether you identify traps or not. It's a very good technique, but it's time consuming. Plus, what happens when you're not there with that individual driver? They kind of go back to what they were doing anyway. Maybe, but maybe if you plant the seed, if they make safety a priority, then they will. So that's all we can do, create the awareness. We'll offer you this, we'll improve your skills, we'll let you know more about yourself, your priorities regarding safety. That's MSF program. And hopefully it'll carry out. And improvements get carried out in the real world. I looked at the handout that was used in yesterday's program, and it had on there about, improved rider training is effective. What else are you improving? Any other countermeasures? You're looking like licensing, and anybody try to prove that's effective or not? Or putting out yard signs? How much money you spend on that? In some states, again, I don't know the Texas situation. There's all these countermeasures that alluded to this morning. You put resources out there, yet everybody's looking at rider training. What's all rider training's fault? We just train more people. No, it's got to be good training to begin with. And then they have to get into that behavioral aspect of it. Otherwise, as the quote showed earlier, more skill doesn't mean more safety. We like to think it because it's something we can evaluate. I can test somebody before the VRC on a motorcycle and say, okay, show me you can ride around this parking lot. Well, they're not going to make it. They don't all right. And after the course, I can say, they can do it. Learning happened. Now, does that transfer to the street? And then does it transfer to the brain about what we're talking about here, is not the skill oriented, but perception oriented, which is what the focus of this session is about.
And do change behavior.
Well, that's
Risky
what
behavior.
we're trying, we're making that effort. Creating awareness is about your choices. And think about it. We've got, a chart we have the students fill out, a scale of 1 to 10, how emotionally committed are you to safety? Almost every student's a 9 or a 10. When they start at the end of the course, they write it in there. And then later in the course, near the end, we have a thing they go through. Are you serious about safety? Answer these 10 questions, yes, maybe, or no. And then none of them does a real good score on that. And then we say, okay, let's think about what your chart. All you said, your behaviors, and mention what you said, that's what we try to get. It's one of the key points in our BRC. Then we try to make that part of our other courses too, mostly the basic rider course. But we get them to think about, are you serious or not? And does you walk the talk? That gets back to you. As you can tell, I've been in safety for a lot of years. And I keep hearing the same things over and over again when I go to conferences, and that's fine. We have to have a good baseline. But what's being done to address the initiative we're using? How can we make it deeper, more effective? That's why I like training and education, not just training. Education means something about attitudes, something about emotions, something about self-awareness and understanding. And that's where we want to go with some of this. And so, if a person wants to be more perceptive in traffic, they'll like this. If it's more about information, it might not make a difference. So we don't really know. Researchers have tried to prove that since people who use the motor vehicle. If they're trained, are they less likely to crash? And the answer is mixed. Some research shows yes, some show no, some show no difference. The reason for that, you interested in the reason for that or not?
Sure, yes.
Yeah. Because to do that study, you have to have a batch pair analysis. You have to have the identical person with training, having the same experience, the same mindset as the person without training. So with training, without training.
And the same environment.
Absolutely. Factors all that, and so you compare that, and the methodology doesn't work, so it's impossible to figure it out. So that's why we like to go one-on-one. You, Mr. and Miss Ryder, I'm going to be careful with my pronouns here, but you, Ryder.
You're safe.
Okay, you Ryder, it's about you and your choice. Don't worry about your group and your peer pressure, even though we know it's going to happen in the social environment. It's like the theory of reasoned behavior we came up with earlier. It's, we're affected by cultural norms. But what about you personally? That's where it wants to focus on you. Is what are your choices going to be? You're going to take responsibility for it. And it's foreign to a lot of people. There's always foreign to the crowd. Make me think. So, we get asked, prove your work all the time. Well, we can prove people like the course. We can prove they gain knowledge through pre and post testing. We can prove they improve skills. I mentioned earlier, they couldn't ride before. Now they can. But what are they going to do on the street? That's magic. And there's no study that can actually determine that, unfortunately.
And we've run into similar issues trying to do this type of research. And part of it is when you look at licensed riders versus unlicensed riders, there is some propensity for people that know how to ride to not get a motorcycle license because they feel they don't need the training. And then you have someone that doesn't know how to ride, that gets the training, but at the end of the day, they still might not be at the same level as the person that knows how to ride that doesn't have a license. And so when we try to compare that, sometimes you get these results that some of these studies show that you're actually unsafer by getting training, which no one actually believes, but if you look at the statistics, that's one of the things that we run into.
Very nicely put. Yeah, there's been some studies that have shown that. So people that need the training will take it. Those that don't, they might be safe already. I mean, we have an activity we go through. We're not going to do it today, but we ask people about, where do you think a BRC graduate should be? Where do you think all riders should be? And where were you on your first ride? And usually most people laugh. They weren't anywhere near the knowledge and skill they have now, yet they didn't crash. So there's something else going on internally about managing our own risk, about time and space management, whatever you want to say. That magical piece is, we'd like to find out what that is, because there'll probably be a drug for it. Get this drug and you'll be safer. But it's not going to happen. Not in a free society. Honestly, I probably safely say this, but we'll probably that's free all the time. Okay. Another one, this is the upper half of the motorcycle. If you're a motorcycle enthusiast and want to get into the psychology of motorcycling, this is a really good book written by a German gentleman, Spiegel. But he addresses this, and here's one of his quotes. And it's how you focus. It's like relaxed alertness. And those of you, how many are rider coaches? It's our rider coach guide. Talks about brain-based principles and mentions relaxed alertness is what you want to see in your class, whether it's classroom or range. They're relaxed, they're not stressed, yet they're alert. Because that's when the brain does its best work. And we try to structure our program to have that happen. Okay, so do you agree or disagree with our eyes don't necessarily tell our brain what we see, rather our brain tells our eyes what to look for.
Agreed.
We just went through that. Again, a few people disagree with that, but again, after they go through this, they oh yeah, okay, fine. So here's another one. This is the one we actually use in the BRC. What is it?
Rabbit.
Or a bird. And a bird.
Or Yeah, I wanted to throw this next slide up. Somebody in Texas actually sent me this slide. Kind of cute. So we see a little different. We can look at the same thing and see something different. So here's a quiz for you. So in your group, well, not group, so individually, observe the best answer. You're on your motorcycle, what do you see? Observe this. And there's a quiz question for you.
Making left turns from both directions, Steve.
Well done, Ryder Coach. Did you know the answer? Or,
No, this is the second thing I looked at, the red Starscape, and then I looked at the sign on the right.
Okay, look your eyes. All right, relax. Well, we like that. So there's the same scene again. You can see there's a big clue there on the right side. But after you get your license, you get pass your driver's test, permit test, and you have that in the state. Who looks at signs much anymore? They just kind of fade in the background. If that's a big clue to answer that question. Here's another one. What's the traffic? Best answer. They're all kind of in the vicinity. Is it? Okay, this is the main thing to look for, motorcyclists, that car train left in front of you. I didn't repeat that. Go back.
Yeah.
So again, you got, the van's turning right, or maybe it's got a tail light, a brake light out, you don't really know. There's this intersection, but the main thing is you're invisible. That's one of the best things about one of the riding simulators. You're invisible, and you tend to look at things a little differently. Very smart tip for motorcycle riding. All right, here's one here. So let's do this like we do in the class. I get everybody to stand up. Stand up, and you can always see the motorcycle in the middle of that cube. Now, you can sit down when you can see the motorcycle on the front lower right surface of that cube. Have a seat when you can see the motorcycle on the front lower right surface. Oh, man. All right, everybody back up. Even if you sat down. No, back up. Try it again. All right, didn't do it. How about this one? See it on the back upper left of the circle. You can sit when you see it there. I have a little more success with that one. All right, exercise, back up, work lunch off. Here we go. Now you can sit down when you see it at the front upper left surface. Oh, everybody got that. All right. Well, if you had motivation, you want to sit down. All right, you can sit. That's fine. Well, you didn't work out. And of course, we have one more there. So we're all up the same thing. Some could see it, some couldn't. Just like sometimes people see traps and some don't. But they're prioritized. So if we make this shaded area here at the front of the cube, you see it changes where the motorcycle is compared to if that's the back of the cube. And shaded area is the front of the cube now. It changes what's front and back. So it's just an exercise to see it's our brain that's seeing the same image, but our interpretation is different. Our capabilities, not that you're a good or bad driver or rider if you didn't get this, it's a matter of saying, well, I need to look at this study a little more. Well, it's too late to crash. Sorry. So the conclusion, look at the same image. One person may not see a certain location while another person perceives it clearly. And how does it transfer to traffic? Identical traffic situation, one rider may not see a problem, or another rider perceives a collision track. That's what this session is about. And we try to build that into our courses. We have classroom training. All right, you want to get one side of the room?
Oh, sure.
Are you ever going to count it out?
Well, no, I split them up into.
See, I would have done that. That's like man's brain versus woman's brain. I'm not saying which one's better.
Well, then
It's different.
woman's brain forgot half the stats, so.
No, I thought you had. All right, so you need a pen or pencil for this activity. This is a sheet you can keep. We want you to go through this. We actually do this in our online course too, where we have people do the same thing because we want them to show them something. We call it the CZ sheet. So notice in the upper left corner you have an A. Your task here is to draw a line from A to, when I say go, don't start earlier. All lines from A to B to C to D, go. Go until, you got 60 seconds, see how far you get. A to B to C to D. Get all the way through, then go back up to double A, double B, etc. Okay, stop now. Just make a note of the last one you got. Some may have got, we're not going to quiz you on how far you got or anything. Did you see any kind of pattern? Well, the title of that kind of helps you out, makes a Z. Well, if you go to the upper left and go to the upper right, and then bottom left, bottom right, and start over, it keeps on repeating itself. You see that pattern now? Now, if I told you that to begin with, would you have done better? Yes. Why? Most people say yes.
Where to look?
Hey, you know where to look, what to look for. You have strategy. Aha! That builds right into our search, evaluate, execute. So we do better if we have an organized strategy. We search aggressively. Now, for that 60 seconds, as you meander off, look at the ceiling, kind of look at your watch, you probably, I'm not going to quiz here, I got a task. Do you focus that hard when you're riding or driving to identify factors in traffic? Yet that's what it takes. It's impossible to pay 100% attention. Perhaps you did for 60 seconds, but it's what we prioritize. Right now, you had a priority of, I want to do this well. Not sure where it's going, but I want to do it well. So hopefully you did. But notice how you can't see the whole page without moving your eyes, can you? Because you know how wide your vision is, your clear vision? How many degrees wide it is? 3 degrees. 3 degrees. You know, you can look at the screen. I can see this light over here, but I can't see it clearly. I can see there's an exit sign here, but I can't see it clearly because it's out of my 3-degree range. So it's only right about up in here is where you have clear vision. Anyway, it's just so we need to pay attention to what's important. That's why we have to prioritize. So that's central vision versus peripheral vision.
Dr. Roper,
Yes.
have there been any studies done to see how long, of course this would be subjective, how long an individual can actively do this and stay on task?
I haven't seen anything directly related to that. You know, how much attention people pay. I know in training sessions, they say you should change your methodology every 20 minutes, which is still a long time, especially this day and age. But no, that would be an interesting study, I think, and it varies. I know a lot of the things we incorporate into the basic wire course and other wire courses we get from sports medicine. If you read a lot of sports medicine, you find out they try to do these kinds of things for high performance athletes and find out how come they're so much better than the average athlete, talking superstars. You know, it's about a 1/10 of a second difference physically, where they can perceive and respond to something. That's the only edge they need, just that extra little bit, and they see the ball, or they see the football, or you know, which way the receiver's at. That's where you're looking at things to do with basketball pass. And that, in a lot of ways, motorcycling is a sport too, because it's physically and mentally demanding. So that's a really good question to ask. I think it's going to be individual. And like we do with a lot of studies, we find out, okay, let's get the answer to that. Okay, anybody that takes longer than 10 seconds to do this, you lose your license. There was a study done in the 40s. It was a personality test, and it was pretty accurate. And it showed people with poor attitudes crash more. Good attitudes didn't. So you think we're going to put that DMVs? Okay, you take this test. Oh, sorry, you can't drive in the state of Texas because you're not the right kind of person. Think that work in our culture? See, we know some of these answers. That's why it goes back to training and education. Make that person the best he or she can be. That's what we're trying to do with this. Look at perception a little bit differently. Apply it to your own personal mobility behavior. So another illustration of this is checking signs out. Now we're going to assume you know what these signs mean. They're gonna be up there very quickly and just call it out when you know what it means. It's not left turn. Or technically, this is trick.
Left
Street
turn.
is turning left. Curve.
One more word, you're close, not curve. Only is missing. Because it's a regulatory sign. And see, a lot of people don't know the signs actually have a meaning with the shape and the color. But this one is regulatory, so that is a. Oh, let's try another one here. Next sign.
That one's left.
A sharp left turn.
Sharp left turn. But again, this is right out of the Uniform Vehicle Code. Most states use as a reference. It's called a sharp left turn. That's what that particular sign's called that. Usually it's reserved for 25 miles per hour or less. Motorcyclists ought to be very wary when they see that sign.
Hard side.
Well, if you're in control, I'd rather have the sweeping ones, but okay. Because you got a bunch in a row there. Here's another sign.
Right turn.
No, right.
We've actually had people say, that's a traffic circle.
Oh.
You ever made traffic circles in Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah, they get more and more popular. All right, here's another sign.
Zigzag road, caution.
Yeah, okay, it's not the technical name, but yeah, that's what it is. So it's reverse turn. Now you're excited.
Yeah.
All right, another one. Shame on your language. Anchor. I hope that's not offending anybody. That's what they're calling it now. The flag person, I guess you would say. Could be a robot. All right, now you think you can do that at the same time with two signs? Take your eyes and mind, work that fast. Let's try it. Here you go.
You turn and zigzag.
Why do you run it?
As opposed to reverse turns. And no use or so. If you got both of those, I mean, look how quickly you're focusing on this now. So it's a matter if a person wants to identify a trap, they can probably identify it pretty quick. That's why these perception tests, they used to be real big and drive around. We had videos, and you click a button, you know, when you see the hazard. Well, everybody starts clicking the button, or, you know, if I'm testing on it, I'm going to see it early, I keep pushing the button. When that's not the point. The point is how quickly your eyes and mind work when you pay attention and you have a priority. For us, it's safety. This activity is science. Let's try a couple more.
Right turn and.
A little more involved there.
No.
Okay, a couple more.
Assignment.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, some names are what the name of it. Pull out the driver's manual. If you were 16 and were ready to learn to drive or took the permit, you probably knew all these. Away from us.
T intersection and sharp.
Okay. And the wind we have today, the last couple of days here in Texas, warning. All right, last two, here we go. Not merge lane, it's the most frequently missed sign we have. And we checked it, most people don't know that sign. Yeah, you don't have to yield. There's an actual lane there, it's gonna continue on, and a lot of people will, you know, make a lane change, and they'll slow down, maybe you have to get in. Well, I mean, that's our traffic culture. Some people benefit from it, some don't. But now you know what it means, maybe you can apply your strategy to your time and space margins. So, how quickly are the eyes and mind to work, attention and safety are conscious priority. That's the goal we try to make, right? You're right from point A to point B, be aware of what's happening on. Keep that safety bulb lit all the time in the brain. So on the back side of that CZ sheet, You have, we actually use this in one of our programs we're getting ready to release called, we work off factors, traps, and escapes. Remember the new name for it? Offhand, I can't remember. Well, we didn't call factors, traps, and escape. We had our own rider perception module or emotional back kit. We updated it a little bit. Well, I just let you look down there and see if there's anything in particular you have a question about. So just take a moment, take a quick look at it and see if there's anything that you'd like to know more about or think it's good for everybody to hear about.
Number 9, influence with values and priorities. Found that interesting.
Yeah, because it's emotional. That's where we talked about this morning that 1 to 10 for emotional subtask of riding or driving is you prioritize things. I mean, our bottom line, you can define what executive function is. What is executive functioning?
Yes, exercise.
Let's get that.
It's the part of your brain that can make rational decisions based on input and kind of see that.
On your priorities
On
and
your
values,
priorities,
yeah,
right.
and the inputs you get, yeah. It's how your brain figures out what's important to you. Like, I guess there are a lot of people signed up for this forum, but many didn't show up today. They made a decision. That was their executive function work. Or how many pieces of food you had today at lunch. That's an executive, your brain, you make that determination. It's your, so that's what we're trying to get at with riders, is say, what is your brain telling the rest of your brain about when it comes to valuing safety? Is safety a priority for you? Is it a value? And that's where all training education leads to that. And it's good. Good to other than that, just simply skills, practice, that kind of thing. But that's where education comes in, self-awareness, a little bit of reflection. How am I as a driver? And how am I going to be as a motorcyclist? We do that in our basic rider course, and we try to emphasize, what's your executive function, and it's kind of technical, but, a lot of people don't know what that is, obviously. But we as trainers or as people interested in safety out there on the road, we need to get people thinking about that. When they see the slogan out there, watch out for motorcycles. They're going to get you, they don't have that part. That's not, no, it's about people. It's not about the motorcycle. And it's about not getting them getting you. It's about you seeing them. And the slogans change from state to state. So interesting you bring that one up because what's your value system? As a rider coach, we really like that. High value on safety. Not just let out here, I'll go through the motions. Anything else on there somebody like to address? The 13 fits in what we just finished there. It's cons. How quickly your eyes move, 500 per second. That's why you can probably make both sides out if you look at the sides bent. Your eyes move that fast. Then how fast we want to move in traffic? Well, we'd rather have it relaxed and work with, where you can look far and near, side to side, and it's a low stress environment. You're picking out factors that might build into a trap. That's what we're trying to accomplish. Number 17 points out the sports vision I mentioned earlier. And 10 is kind of powerful. People see what they expect to see. Kind of hard to tell somebody, watch out for that emergency. It's always unexpected, but can you put the clues together beforehand? That's respond versus react. Closest call I had recently on a motorcycle, I set a stop sign. Somebody's coming, I was waiting for traffic to clear. They had the right of way, 4 lane, 2 lanes on each side of the median. Car was coming up this way, I was waiting, okay, now this way, turn left and turn left. And they collided. And when that one car coming this way went behind me. I mean, I'm sitting there, do I move or not? But I saw all happen. I was right there. Watch for that. Wait a minute. I can see that. That's what I want every rider to be able to do is put the clues together where you're predicting it. Like some of you may remember the old empty approach or SIFTI, scan, identify, predict, decide, execute. Good stuff. We like to use search, evaluate, execute. The search has more of a general connotation to it. Evaluate means think. It's not too many stages. Watch out. Okay? And be ready to respond if they execute. That's what you might mention. All right, we'll move on. So this is the actual excerpt of the program that we're getting ready to release. So the idea here, you saw on your paper there, you have 4 search categories. It's going to show up here too. So as we look at these things, so we use what we call a 2 and 4, 2, 4, and 12 second visual aids. 2 seconds, you should be following minimum 2 seconds. You want 4 seconds is very powerful. Because if you're going 70 miles an hour or less, you can stop at the distance you're going to travel in 4 seconds. So the minimum distance you should be looking for an escape path is 4 seconds based on your speed. Because you can stop within the distance you're going to travel in 4 seconds. Of course, you're decelerating the whole time. Just think about that's the minimum distance you got to have open. If you have 4 seconds of space in front of you, you're not going to hit anything. Most important one is the one directly in front, your braking distance, total stopping distance. The next would be to the right, have that escape open. So look for some of that in the scene we're about to put up here. So as you see the scene here, we don't have any blind spot checks, we don't have mirrors on these, same thing you saw earlier. Most of the things happen in front. How many of you have never heard of a Hertz study? Hertz study. Big motorcycle study released in 81. Well, it showed most all the factors, in fact 77.1% between 11 and 1 o'clock in front of us. Most of the factors are there, it's right in front of us. So that's where we want, we should be worrying about the back, which happens to be 3.2%. That's important too, take it all in, but really, the main ones are right there, where somebody's going to turn left in front or run a stop sign while they try to. All right, so continuing on down here, I'll explain some of these other things as we go on. But you're looking for those search categories. So we've got them categorized into curves, between intersections, and intersections. So I just picked some random ones out here. This is curve situation number 2. We used to call this Project Gateway. That's why you see Project Gateway here. We're going to change the name of it. So take a look, see what you think. So what factors are there? Couple, identify. Yeah, okay.
Blind left.
Blind left, that's over the curve. Guy's shoulder area.
No shoulder. Winding road.
Any warning signs? Any pavement markings that might be important?
Some skid right there.
Skid marks, yeah. So what we do in this program is we put the 4 search categories at the bottom, and we color code what's referring to. The dashes meaning blind area. So again, I'm not going to take a lot of time with this. And for those of you, well, one rider we have in here, these are not timed. I actually advanced that. So depending upon the group, I may need to scene up longer or cut it short, depending upon what I think is most valuable for the purpose of the program. And then what we do on the next slide is we take away factors that aren't really critical. The 2 most important things you should prioritize with what your EF, executive function, would be somebody coming around that and I need to be able to stop or escape. That's what we look for here. So in that situation, we try to get some mileage out of, no pun intended. Say, okay, well, am I ready for this? I'm not just riding into a trap without recognizing the factors. Let's go to another curve. Here's one. There's an extra slide there. It's going to be identifies everything you probably should have identified. What's that sign called there on the upper left, the one shrouded in blue? Well, a lot of drivers don't know what that sign is. It's the Chevron alignment sign. And for you highway engineers, anybody here, what's wrong with that particular sign?
It's after.
It's after, it should give you the curve of the road itself. That's what it's designed to do.
There's one of them missing on that.
Well, there's like 4 or 5 missing.
Yeah.
Go to the local college dorm room, and you might find it. Now, I'm kidding about that, but that's what we need to be aware of. When we see a single one like that, it's probably a budgetary thing. We don't have that many signs. Let's put one at key spots so we know the curve keeps going. Yet the function of a Chevron alignment sign is to show you the curvature of the road, especially at night. So you can slow as necessary beforehand. But just little things like that. And there you put the escape route, and then somebody come around the corner that, is over your center line. That's the big trap, to hit. That's what we want, we want riders, they can say, yes, I have worn volleyball. Have you ever felt it? Somebody said a best practice to us not long ago. They said, I found about a square foot of asphalt on the shoulder of the road. I took it to my class, and I passed it around to the students, and I have them not very hard, but rub their elbow on it. Just imagine if they go down at that speed. And how much more damage that's, that's a visceral learning activity, not bad. Because people can't relate to getting hurt. Somebody, they pulled right out in front of me. Now, if you're a rider, how many of them happens? 2 times for me, so, and luckily I was ready for it each time that happened. But, a lot of people say, well, it came out of nowhere, I never even saw them. Yeah, you did, but you really didn't identify it. Because you see everything if your eyes are open, but did you identify what's important? Did the executive function say trap, factor? All right, another curve. Okay, I get the sequence. Here we are on the Blue Ridge Mountain. Maybe. We have a place called Big Bend here in Washington State, somewhere about 1,300 miles west of here. Big state is. Same thing again. First, look for that escape route. Now, we don't put all the ones directly in front of you here because if you have that open, that's all you need. Or if somebody comes over the center line and you're lane within 4 seconds, you can stop under 70 in 4 seconds the distance you would have been traveling. Who can tell me what the formula is for that, by the way? So if I'm going 30 miles an hour, how far am I going to travel in 4 seconds? 30 miles an hour.
1.46.
Yes, I always round it to 1.5. So that's 45 feet per second. So that's 90 times 2 would be 180 feet. So you can stop at 30 miles an hour at 180 feet if you have average or decent braking skills. Now, if you're a little on the, not paying attention or not very good skill-wise when it comes to braking, then it can be longer. So we're going to take that one out. But here you got a little bit of escape area. Good for motorcycle riders, narrow. You should be able to use some of these short areas a lot better than cars because we don't have that much of a profile. And of course, surface conditions, you got off-camber there. You got somebody coming around there. In fact, about 2 seconds before this one, there's actually a warning sign there telling us that there's a fire station around the corner. So imagine that one coming around the corner here, right? All right. So then we pull it down just to that. Just to what's invisible, what's coming around, what's going to violate our path of traffic. All right, here's another one, C5. There you go. I can see this here on live signs on that. There you can see those as they show you the bend. Surface is wet, bumps in the center line, which actually is a good safety measure because somebody drifts toward the center line, they'll get some feedback. And of course, the blind area, somebody come around the curve, especially if it's a motorcycle familiar road where people like to push it. They'll use it as a racetrack coming this way, they're going to be in your lane. Or if they have poor judgment, they're in your lane. So just think like that can happen. Okay, let's try, gosh, I'm going to put some curves here. Another one. In California, but you got the shady areas, you got the warning sign, you got a bit of escape route there. It's a little bumpy. See that? It looks like some rock formation in the foreground there. But you probably pass that by the time something happens. You see, this is how we want riders. They're looking instead of just enjoying the scenery. You can do that too. But you have to have this automatic sense of my time and space management. And how the factors by accumulating come together. So let's take a look at some intersection traps. First one. You identify the factors, I won't spend much time on these now. So we put the next slide up and look at all the escapes you've got. You go left or right, assuming they're not going to be moving, but you don't know. People on the right backing out, you've got gravel on the shoulders, you need to use it. Lots to pick out. What's most critical? Well, keep your escape open. Watch for somebody that might be backing out that can't see you. If you can't see the driver, they can't see you. We all know that. Especially those who carry the helmet. Trap, 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 what's the trap, what's the trap? Well, a whole bunch of stuff going on, they're all factors, and how do you break that down and say what's most critical at this point in time? Well, somebody pulling into your lane to the left, we gotta get out of the way, I got a escape route on the right side. So thinking differently. Point to point A, point B. Another intersection, well, we've seen this one. Love this one. Main traffic. Do I get it? Big traffic. I mean, I would be scared going through the intersection.
You can't turn around,
Well, that's one reason, because,
because there's no road there.
well, or is, let's go back and look at it.
Oh, it's one way.
It's one way, and you can't see the road, you can't see it very well, right? But the warning signs, the clues here, you got a traffic light, you got a one-way sign. It's it's really a classic blind intersection. And even when I'm on my bike in that right lane, I'm not staying there. I'm slowing way down, I'm gonna go over the left right, but there ain't no speed. Because I don't want to get hurt. I'm selfish that way. Put this forward, here's where you go. You can't see the factors on the right. You got a braking area, you're slowing area right in front, you do have a shoulder if you need it, if there happens to be somebody that cuts you off, coming up from behind on the left. There's a lot of stuff going on. That's what's most critical. Another one, somebody mentioned Vegas earlier. What's the traffic? Pick it out, there you go, left turn right away. See, if we can get training out of the hands of the public, to at least go through some of these and point that left turnaround and give people imagine they're visible, wow, what benefit we can have. So between intersections, a couple of days, we're about ready to wind down here. Traffic. This actually happened, we were filming some things for our new course. I was on a 2-lane road, a right turn lane. I'll take a highway, Southern California, nice long turn lane. Somebody passed me, I don't want to speed limit. Passed me on the right, big hurry. And justice was done, they didn't crash. 2 minutes later, I caught up to it, they had a roadblock up front, construction, and I was right behind them. They were in such a big rush to get by me. Take the EP1 course and see that it. All right, so there's the traps, all the factors, I should say. A main trap would be there, somebody shooting the gap from your right. Now you can't see him, that's why it's dashed, but that's a close call. Anybody ever have that happen? Yeah, okay, because we're invisible. We're a nuisance, most drivers. All right, here's one. Now you pick that one up right away, it's not too hard. You know, you better have a place to go or start slowing. Can you brake and swerve at the same time?
So,
Hey.
You can.
Hey.
yeah.
Yeah, that's something, we try to get, this is a big misconception, and I said, yes. Because we don't want novices to brake and swerve at the same time. Because it's risky for them, they haven't got the feedback yet, and the controls, and how much they can brake and do that. So we want them separating braking from swerving. But in the real world, I'm certainly doing both, but, you know, I'm going to brake, but I'm not going to brake as hard as I want the traction to go to the right side of the shoulder. See, that's why we want people to take advanced training, but as I mentioned this morning, sometime today, less than 5% of people come back and take it. So they take a look at the rider handbook, which we've edited in the last many years, and we put in there, the brake swerve decision. We had to add it, because the old myth was, MSF doesn't think you should brake and swerve at the same time. If you have capability, certainly why, yeah. There's some advantage. So there's things that go beyond the basics, no question about it. There we distill it down to, you know, surface conditions wet, you certainly can't brake as hard there, blah, blah, blah. So that is actually the finish of what we want to go through in this particular session. So we've got a few minutes for any general questions if you have any. You got the handout there you can take with you. Anything else on perception and traffic? Good for riders or not?
Of those 4 books, which one's your favorite?
I have to say traffic is.
Traffic?
Yeah, because it's non-academic. Most of the other ones are kind of academic in nature. Not that I don't like academic books, I do, but it's really rich information. It's like, you know, I think it's in that book, might be different one, talks about race car drivers. They have more or less traffic crashes than average drivers. They're born. If they have the highest skills in the world, but they don't know how to assess risk, their executive function works different. Another one in there talks about most people who crash in the back end of something were following more than 3 seconds. So more following distance isn't a solution. That's why MSF stated 2 seconds. Because 2's enough if you're paying attention. If you follow more than 3, well, I'll make up for it. I'm on my phone, but I'll follow more. This isn't going to work. Anything else?
I just have a general question, and just put it out for the group. I'm just wondering if anybody else finds the lighted chevrons distracting at night in low light situations. The lighted chevrons.
Yeah, at least where I live, there's not a lot, very rural. So at night, it's very dark on the other side of the road. Sometimes all you can see is the shadow.
Yeah, and that's my situation too.
Yeah.
So, no light situations out in the pine curtain.
Mm-hmm.
And come up to a lighted chevron.
When you get over 30 years of age, you get hurt. Just saying. See, that's the part about this constant cueing we teach, in motorcycle safety programs. You can make yourself more conspicuous if they're looking for you, which the invisible really shows. If you're bright and visible, not looking for you, it's not going to see you. But for those that see it, does it kind of draw people towards you? It's kind of like a moth to a light, for example. I've heard that argument. I don't think it's been fully researched, but there could be a case made for that.
You said something that really caught my ear real quick, and you said, it was just a halfway mention, and I kind of understand, and maybe I took it wrong, but you said the old policy of applying brakes at the same time, same pressure. Are you saying that now it's more of a control brake instead of a, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's like threshold braking, like if you're, just to get more technical with it, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's threshold braking? Let's just talk about the front brake. If you squeeze the front brake, where's threshold braking? 1, 2, 3, 9, 10. Where's it? It's 9. It's 9 in that feeling. But where's it on the lever? That's what a lot of people don't know. It's going to vary. If you're on slick, you can't squeeze as much because you're going to, when you add swerve to that, that's why you go on and practice. So you can see, and build up to it. Don't try to do something emergency-wise. And see what it's like as you brake. On advanced rider course, we have people going in circles and using their brakes. So you get a feel for what's the bike doing when you brake in a curve. It's a trick question, I warn you. What happens when you brake in a curve? What's the bike do?
Wants to fall back in that direction?
Well, that's actually said the opposite of what most people say. You're correct. Well, all the bike's going to straighten up, unless you move the handlebars, you're going to go deeper in the curve because you're slowing, and the weight's going to take you in. But if you brake really hard, the center of gravity's going to want to straighten that up. So it really depends on how much brake pressure you use. Stuff like that is in our advanced courses. And we don't get to do that in BRC. Can you imagine teaching a novice that? Like teaching trail braking, right? I understand you just press the right door. Let's just leave it at that. I just brought that up, but yeah, that's what it's more of a sense. That's why we want people to learn the basics on their own bike. We're in a basic course on a training bike, and then go take a beta so BRC2. Then take the basics on your, so you get the mechanism of feedback to know what the bike's going to do when you make certain actions. I see our key person standing up. Go ahead.
You know the drill. We have an evaluation for each and everything. By the end of today, we'll just hear that in your dreams. So it is 2 o'clock right now. Next session starts at 2:10. You've been to this one. So the other options are impaired driving. Nope. That was this morning. Are you road trip ready, or the motor officer rodeo outside, which we did the engine drove up for earlier. So thank you so much, Dr. Oaks, for your time.
All right, thanks for coming out.